didn't get to do, let me just adjust this camera because it didn't actually show me the little preview. That's the word I'm looking for. So I didn't get to see where it's set up. There we go. Hello, it is Sunday morning. It is 11:11 a.m. I have a face full of makeup on and that should be illegal, but I'm doing it so you don't have to. So, welcome to another live Stitchin' Bitch. I already did it. I already broke the B word within the first 30 seconds, so hopefully. All right, doing well. So, the reason I am doing another live stream so early on, I was planning on sort of doing it just once a month, but we've got a dreaded house inspection coming up. So, I have spent the entire last week deep cleaning absolutely everything in the house, and it still isn't done. So I feel like I've just lost an entire week of my life. And, you know, they're going to show up and they're going to look around, and even though you've invested all these hours and amount of effort and work into it, they're not going to care. They just walk around, and I swear to God, if there is one stray leaf out of place, oh boy, is there going to be some entertaining things to discuss after that. There'll be hell to pay. We have my lovely Jeb behind the camera again, and I do have my chat set up here this time so I can actually see what's going on. So we've already got Chris here. Hi, Chris. Thank you for joining me. Today I am going to be working a little bit more on if you watched my last video, the craft hacks. I began making the molds originally with the hot glue, but then I swapped over to this light clay from Kmart. So I've been working on building those because I will be building an entire outfit out of it all. Now, you can't see what I've laid down now because the purpose of today, I'm forcing myself to gloss these all. So they're all laid out down here, but all different sizes. So they end up looking like so cool after, you paint them up and stuff. This project is one of those ones where it's sort of like, you're making it and about halfway through, you're like, this doesn't look any good. And then you paint it up and suddenly the magic happens. So that is always, I love when that happens because sometimes you do have to push through it. You got to push through it. You're like, this isn't ending up where I wanted. It's like, push through, much like when you're baking and your chocolate seizes, push through and it'll come back to life, hopefully. So, yes, dreaded inspection is coming up. And of course, my favorite topic of property managers. Hopefully, though, this will just be routine, nothing going wrong. And yeah, we'll be able to just easily done, no problems. That's what we hope. Because dealing with real estate agents is...
It's tedious.
It's tedious.
It's tedious.
Especially when you're not really adulty sort of. Yeah.
Whoa.
So, yes. Where were we?
I think we're also the only country that does it.
Yes. When you go, so I'm using Mod Podge, I am doing the decorating. When you go on Reddit and things like that and you see sort of the property subreddit sort of things, everyone from like England and everywhere else in the world are saying things like, this is so intrusive. It's so intrusive. Like, yeah, it's either you trust us or you don't. Come on. Your thoughts, Star?
We're already paying your mortgage.
We really are.
Yeah, I mean,
like, obviously, I understand when there is troublesome tenants and,
Yeah.
they're trashing your stuff. But when it's the average person who is just trying to do the right thing and, keep a clean house and not...
Ooh.
We've got some lighting. Oh.
Oh no. Sorry.
There we go.
I think it's just on top of all the things that already feel stacked against you in regards to the whole real estate thing. Like everything about like trying to find a place, like all the hoops you have to jump through to apply for places. Everything feels very uphill.
They also want your blood. Like, I'm not sure if you haven't had to apply for rentals or anything within the last few years, they are out for your blood. Like, they want your birth certificate, your mother's sister's friend's birth certificate.
The name of your first goldfish.
Your blood type. Mine's A positive, by the way. But yeah, they are, and we don't know where that information is going.
Yeah, we ended up having to download 3 separate apps, fill all of them in with a whole bunch of information that you don't even need for a gun license. And then with all of the data breaches, you know that all of that information immediately is just going to end up in the wrong hands. And then
Plus, you get like the amount of, after you've supplied all that information, the amount of scam calls that you do get then.
Yeah, as soon as we started signing up, it was like pretty much the next day, our phones were going off non-stop with you'd see the phone number and it'd be like Malaysia, Melbourne, India, and you'd just be getting like these huge like telephone numbers that have like 15 digits in them, and you're like, I know this isn't going to be my auntie.
Yeah, unless she suddenly decided to take a lovely vacation and not tell us about it.
To the Cayman Islands.
To the Cayman Islands. Oh, all right. So, enough chatter about real estate in general, because let's talk about something funny. So, I've got a burlesque mystery going on. This has been going on for a couple of years now. So, as you know, many people come through my house to film, and I dress them up and things like that. We usually end up sort of, the routine of it is I shove them all in the green room and they get ready there. So like there's lots of changing. It's like finishing, getting ready for a show, things like that. So a couple of years ago, Maya Mercury left a pair of, it was a good pair, her good pair of dance sneakers at our house somewhere. And so I'm like, all right, no problem. I will find them. I'm sure it's not going to be a big deal. So after a while, I did find this pair of underwear and they weren't mine. So I'm like, aha, there we go. There's Maya's underwear. So I take them to her. And I'm like, here you go. And she goes, these aren't mine. And I go, okay, well, they're not mine, and we're sort of the only two of
that stature.
So I'm like, all right, so your mystery is not yet solved. We will continue missing for the missing knickers, and then now I just randomly have this extra pair. So a couple of years do go by, and I find a pair of knickers, and I think, finally, we've got them for her. So she comes around the other week. I hand them to her. These aren't it. They're not mine. So now the mystery has deepened, because we now have 2 pairs of mysterious underwear that are not mine, that are not Maya's. They are in my house. I don't know whose they are. So, without context, all of that sounds like the creepiest.
So suspicious.
It sounds so suspicious. Please, if you've just jumped in, please rewind and get that back, because that sounds just sus. That's all. I'm trying very hard not to swear. So yes, now we have 2 pairs of mystery knickers and 1 missing pair of knickers. So the burlesque mystery continues. We have a comment from Chris. Is your green room connected to the miscellaneous dryers everywhere? Is it taking underwear and socks into the vortex? I think at this point it absolutely is. Like, maybe I have become, actually, this kind of makes sense. All right, I'm the costume lady, right? So I end up with all these extra pieces of clothing and lingerie and things like that. Maybe at some point, through probably one of those evenings where magical things happen and you're not quite sure what reality is, and then through one of those nights, I became the washing machine of burlesque.
But you're like the opposite end of the washing machine. Like, the washing machine is the portal, and the other end of the portal is somewhere around you. And so people are putting their knickers in the washing machine and they're just appearing in your drawer.
I'm the other end of the portal. Okay, if you are missing socks or various bits of underwear, I may have them. However, I should put a call out on that. If you have ever changed at my house, or you've been backstage with me at a show, I may have accidentally grabbed and you're looking for these missing items, please get in contact, because apparently I have them all. So yes, the burlesque mystery continues of that. I feel like I want to make an entire film out of that. Like, it needs more, obviously, nuance and clever things going on. But that is currently the case of the missing underwear. And Jeb is behind the camera just dying laughing. So,
but it's the opposite of missing underwear now.
It's the found underwear.
Yeah, the case of the mysterious unmissing underwear. Twice, and then 1 pair still missing.
Can you imagine if that was like a Victorian Penny Dreadful novel? It's like the case of the found underwear. Look, I'd buy it, and then I'd go get me one of those Victorian ice cream licks and presently die of typhoid or something.
Tuberculosis.
TB, yes. Oh, I'm not getting into that discussion because we'll be here all day. Okay, the next thing I did want to talk about though. I love, and I heard this was an Australian invention, the freak shake. Of course, we're going to talk about food, my absolute favorite topic, and drink. The freak shake. So if you're not familiar with this concept, it's those milkshakes that are like, oh, they're an event. So imagine my tea is one of those milkshakey things, and then you've got cream, you've got chocolate around the outside, you've got sprinkles, and then this also goes on the cocktails and things as well. They'll put like burgers and like little sliders and things like that all throughout the cocktail and drink and things like that. So I've been thinking about what my ultimate freak shake would be. And I drew a picture of it. I tried to find it, but the drawing was so distressing that I don't think people should be allowed to consume that drawing that I did. But the idea of my fruitcake, freak shake, not fruitcake, I'm the fruitcake, it wasn't at all to be edible, enjoyable, anything like that. I just wanted it to be the most ridiculous freak shake. So,
Asbestos.
Oh, babe, I wasn't going for the hurting of them. I only wanted to hurt people's eyes and mind with this freak shake. Okay, so picture you this. I'm going to put my tools down because I can tell my hands are already going to get expressive. Here we go. All right, the ultimate freak shake. You're not even starting with a glass. Get it off right immediately. We're starting with a full suckling pig that has been arranged to be sitting up, because that is going to be the base of the freak shake. So you've got your full suckling pig. He's got the apple in his mouth. Beautiful glazing, by the way. You can tell I'm obviously not a vegetarian. Full suckling pig. And then, because you have someone, you had me at suckling pig. Here we go. So, full suckling pig. They've got their arms out because that is going to be the basis of carrying all the freak shaky bits. Now, I'm trying to remember this horrific drawing that I've done. Okay. Oh, yes, I actually put, so, full suckling pig, apple in the mouth. He's got a little chef hat on as well. So, that is a very, very important part of it. Okay, then, in one hand, a tray. And on that tray, how are we going to make this the most inconvenient thing? Oh, that is, so actually, do you know what I'm going to do? One side, because I'm a very balanced Libra, one side we're going to go, it's holding sweet things, and then on the other side we're going to go, he's holding savory things. And when I'm talking he's holding savory things, I don't want your little 1 or 2 sliders that goes on the top of your milkshake. I don't want any of that. I want a ridiculously offensive amount of sliders and hot dogs on that tray, all piled up together in a haphazard manner. And then, just so you don't have to put any extra effort of making sure it's structurally sound or everything, what we're going to do is cover the entire thing in melted cheese and then haphazardly start stabbing skewers right through the contraption all the way to the bottom. So you're left with this amazingly incredible medieval, if you will, side of the plate that is basically a pile of cheese filled with various meats and breads with skewers haphazardly sticking out of it at every angle, like some sort of jaunty Sonic the Hedgehog who is just overcome with his desire for burgers. So that's going to be the savory side. Jeb is just dying. So we haven't even gotten to the sweet side yet. See, this is where we can go all out. Except going all out for me means one very, very important lean towards a film in history, Matilda, with Bruce Bogtrotter.
The chocolate cake.
The chocolate cake. So, that's going on the other side. And do you know what? Because we're being extravagant, the Trunchbull can be holding that from the other side. So far, pig, a ball of cheese with skewers on it, the Bogtrotter cake, and Trunchbull standing, glaring at you over this cake. So this freak shake is getting pretty ultimate right now. However, I feel it's still too easy for the waitress to bring it over. So we're gonna put the whole thing on a massive tray that requires at least 4 people to, lift it up and bring it over to your table. And from there, I feel like it could be, so we've got quite a large contraption going on now. So that gives us good base to start to get vertical some more. So, and because it's big, we're going to skip the skewers completely now, because we've already had our skewer moment. Now we're going to go broom handles and just start shoving these sort of strapped to the back of the pig, so it's sort of like this swords coming out, and then on each of those is going to be full roast chicken, rack of ribs, sausages, tornado potato, and what are we finishing with, Lumber?
Oh, you gotta go big, like deep fried turkey.
There we go, a whole deep fried turkey. We did have the full roast chicken already as well, so if we're gonna go, we might as well.
You need a deep fried bird.
This is like the, it's sort of like, okay, yes, I think I figured out what kind of freak shake I was going for. I wanted to sort of combine all of the festivities of seasonal things, such as like Christmas and all that. Leave Halloween alone. That doesn't get tainted by this pathetic idea. And jam all those into the one. So it's just an all-in-one celebration freak shake. And look, you can change the chef hat out. You can put a little Santa hat on it.
It's customizable.
It's a customizable freak shake.
By changing the hat.
By changing just the hat.
Suckling pig.
I'm interchangeable by just changing my hat, but she's got a new hat. Okay, so I'm actually doing quite well on this project today, because if you were recalled to my last live stream, if you were here, boy, did I royally mess up that puppet. However, am I going to do the holding thing that I did to you? I'm going to show you what I came in and I did to Jeb the other day, because I have worked on my puppet a little bit more. And then I came out to him holding it like this. And I went, babe, there's something wrong with our child. And it was... So yeah, here we go. This is what has... Oh my God. Okay, I'm just looking at myself on the camera with a puppet, and that is hilarious. So we have... Hi. It's really weird. When you get a puppet on, it's almost impossible to not want to interact.
Have a conversation.
Just interact with it. So, okay, yes. So if you're watching my last epic fail live stream when I messed up the head, I have actually now gotten his whole sort of head base done. Hi. And then obviously the body. And I've made the limbs very... He's a special little guy. So I will be, right now on these, I'm on the eye matrix. So that is me trying to figure out what look I want for the eyes and things like that. And then, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to agonize over it for about a week, when all I need to do will be glue on, bop, and I'll agonize over it for an entire week. That is what's going to happen. So yes, continued working on with that puppet. Still can't tell you what it's for, but it's going to be good. I have also been working. So I sponsor burlesque competitions and things like that. I have done for years, because I end up with so much stuff that I make. I'm like, I need to donate this. So, and I love being able to give prizes to, you know, the winners and things like that. So my friend is, I can't give you too much away about it, so I will try to be very tactful with this one. One of my friends is running a new competition very soon. And I made up these prizes for them during the week, and I'm so excited about them. I love them. So I did this sort of like original design for her competition, and I've wrapped them all up, and there's two. So yeah, I am stoked on those. They ended up really well. And I'm going to keep painting that style, because I love the booty. But I'm going to do more zombie style, more goth style, kind of like that. But that was so much fun to paint. I have been having an excellent week of painting, which is Good. So, moving on, because I have a list of topics. And this is a story that I didn't get round to telling the last time. But a lot of people have asked me for what went down at Hot and Fresh. So, if you've watched it's the second episode of my After Dark series. It's the one where we're at Hot and Fresh and May is screaming at everyone. Fantastic. So everyone wanted to sort of know the more drama that went on around that. So I was the second part of this story. So as all of this was going down, I was actually outside getting some fresh air and talking to the absolutely awesome door guy that was there. Oh my God. Port Campbell of the Vault, your door guy is just, I would have a drink with him I don't drink, but I would have a drink with him at the pub every single day. He was fantastic, 10 out of 10, give him a promotion. I don't even know what he does, but I spoke to him about 70s music the entire night pretty much. It was fantastic. Anyway, so I was outside as the actual drama of what was going on was going down inside. So basically, what happened was there were some audience members who were talking some really horrible things about the performers loudly whilst they were on stage. So I really hate like repeating like any gross things about what they were saying, but they were basically making comments on their bodies and things like that loud enough so that the performers could hear them on the stage and other audience members could hear them. Now, I heard later, I'll get to where I'm at the end of the bit, but this is just contextual. I found out later that this particular audience participant is a bit of a repeat offender and has had the MCs, different MCs multiple times, tell them to shut up, basically, and not be an incredibly horrible and hurtful person making these comments about this. So it was horrible because it was one of the newer burlesque troupes, so they hadn't done a lot of performing on stage. Everyone's so excited. It's your first time, like that. When it's your first time, you're just so excited and so nervous, and it should be a positive experience because these girls have worked so hard for a long time. They've usually taken many, many classes in a performance course to come up with this routine, and then they finally get to perform it on stage in front of people. Like, that is so exciting. The first time, it's always so exciting. So they're on stage, they're doing fantastic, loving the grins on everyone's smile, that kind of a thing. And so this person starts saying things like about their bodies or being like, she's hot, I'd go her, but not her, that sort of gross thing. Yeah, I'm sure you can all imagine. I am absolutely not going to repeat everything that I heard that was said because you don't need that airtime with your negative bullshit. So there you go. So I was outside for this particular bit of it. When I did come back in, it was May screaming, so I had to find out what actually went down. So I'm the second part of that story. I'm outside and I was just getting some fresh air by myself at that point. And this person stumbles out of the venue and they come sidling right up to me, and I'm just standing there on the street by myself, and they look at me like this sleazy up and down, and then get really, really close to me, and they're like, Are you performing? Oh, okay, that alone, gross. And so obviously I do my typical, I'm grey rocking this entire situation. And I'm on my phone going, nah, and just take a step to the side. This person starts to get a little kind of aggressive and is saying, when people start to get a bit aggressive, your tactic kind of generally has to change. So obviously I'm like, all right, the only way I'm getting out of this is to maybe try and do the friend part of the freeze, what is it? The fight, freeze, the reaction.
There's fight, flight, friend, foe, faint.
Faint, freeze, fawn. Yeah.
God, there's a lot of...
There is a lot now. That's a lot of F words. So, wait till I drop that F bomb. Okay. So my tactic changes to, all right, I'm only getting out of this if I kind of be nice to this person. So they start sort of whinging like, the music in this sucks. I'm not into that kind of music. It's like, yeah, cool, neither am I, but like, I'm not going to have a breakdown about it. This person is very, very drunk, by the way. I have to point out, like, sleazy, disgustingly drunk. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not really into it either. Now this particular person looked like an alternative person. They had facial piercings and were dressed in a style that is, reminiscent of alternative culture. So here I am under the impression that, the alternative sort of looking people always listen to alternative sort of listening music. So automatically I go, yeah, I can't stand this music either. What are you into? Like metal and punk? And they scoff. Right. A scoff. So deep. And yeah, I'm into hip hop. Early 2000s. And I have to stop right there because the fact that they had to specifically cite that it was early 2000s hip hop they were into, that just caught me so off guard. So I'm trying not to die over that line alone. And I'm like, oh, cool, yeah. And like, so I'm stumbling a little bit there because I'm like, I have no idea about any kind of early 2000s hip hop musical act. So that's about to cut off my train of being able to smooth this situation over. And so she's getting, they're getting quite aggressive at me. I'm trying not to give anything too much away about this audience participant member because it is not my place to, deal with that because it was dealt with in the professional manner. I can only give what happened and my opinion on it. So, at this point, they are also very drunkenly. So a lot is going on. They're being very aggressive. They're also drunkenly booking an Uber at the same time, and which was quite impressive because, doing anything whilst drunk is a struggle. So I'll give them props on being able to book an Uber whilst drunk and whilst upsetting everyone simultaneously at the same time. Look, if you're going to take it down, you really, really did. Whew. So they're booking the Uber. I'm still trying to be like, oh, yeah, cool. So, what kind of, I think I even said bands. That's how lame I am. I'm like, I don't know. I think they're not bands, they're musical acts. I'm like, oh, what kind of, and then anyway, out of nowhere, their Uber suddenly turns up and they kind of just half shoved me out of the way, but it wasn't it wasn't like a pointed kind of move. It was the drunken, there's my car, I need to get from A to B, you're in my way kind of thing. So pushing me out of the way, I could understand that. Not loving being pushed, by the way, but I'm seeing that that's how that situation was going down. And they were very much still ranting and going, oh, I pay money to see sexy people. And what that was, but the fact that, and then look, they just drove off. That's the end of that. In the Uber, goodbye, the end. So, but the point of this is that this particular audience person, after I had a few discussions with people who were there and people in the scene, they are a repeat offender. So my question at this point is, what the F are you doing? If you're coming to burlesque shows repeatedly, only to have something to be upset about, only so you can comment on people's bodies that you don't agree with, why are you there? Why are you there? I honestly, if the best thing that you've got to do is go to a show that people have worked incredibly hard to put together, this is producing a show. This is organizing performance classes for the performers. This is organizing all the other performers. There is graphic design. There is marketing. There is dealing with the venue. There is on the day set lists, tech runs, AV, lighting. There is so much that goes into this show, a show. And you want to come into that and say that doesn't please you because they're not aesthetically what you want to look at. Because do you know what I'm appreciating in that moment? The amount of hard work that has gone into every single person there to put that night on for you. And the only thing that you can say is that you weren't happy about it. So I think I doubt this person will ever watch this stream, and you can tell I'm getting very, very passionate about this myself. Have a good look at yourself. Honestly, if the best thing you have to do is go get drunk and make other people feel shit about themselves, go have a long, hard look in the mirror and then call your grandmother and tell her you're sorry for being a disappointment. That's it. I'm going to leave it at that on that one on my rant. Woo! All right. I'm going to change gears completely because I did not expect to go off on a rant, but I feel very, very passionately, obviously, about that. You can have your little opinion when you get home. Keep it to yourself. We don't need to hear that negative shit. Alrighty? So people say they don't want to hear about my negative shit. That's the shit that they should actually be worried about. So moving right along, I'm going to tell a funny story. Okay, so I was thinking about this last night because it's very cold in Sydney at the moment in Australia. We are moving into winter, and all my socks were in the washer on the line because I was very organized, and then it started raining, and so I really played myself on that one. So I had this boyfriend once. I was very young, and he used to do this very, very sweet thing where he would put my socks in the microwave to heat them up, and that is very lovely. Like we were at the time living in a much colder climate than this in a different state, so it was absolutely much more cold than ever in Sydney. I was thinking about this last night just because I didn't have any socks on and the tiles were particularly cold on my feet. So I had this lovely, lovely boyfriend I was about 17 at the time. So he would heat up my socks for me. And then the very last time that he ever did this was because he set my socks on fire in the microwave. And then, so once all that was taken care of and the fire was put out and everything like that. He grabs out my socks. Again, I have to do a visual. Do I have anything that could be socks? I don't. I'll just use this hat. So he's holding the corpse, if you will, of my socks in his hands, outturned like this. And he is weeping, harrowingly weeping, whilst holding my socks in his hands. So I'm 17, by the way, and I'm watching all this go down. I'm not concerned at all by my socks, by the way. It wasn't a big deal to me that the socks had caught on fire. Like, I was just genuinely concerned that this had seemed to broken my boyfriend at the time. So not even a word of a lie. For about 45 minutes, he was weeping harrowingly and holding my socks up in upturned palms. And finally, when he comes down, I said, what's wrong? Like, what happened? It's not that big a deal. And when he finally calmed down, he just says to me, "They were my favorite pair of your socks." And I thought, I know. I just thought that was the cutest little thing. 45 minutes of harrowing weeping over my socks that were his favorites. So I was thinking about that last night and I was like, that is like just the sweetest little thing. And look, obviously I have only dated people as crazy as me. So we're used to these sort of situations arising, things like that. Oh, I've just broken Chris's heart. I know. So I was like, when I didn't have any socks last night, because we went to go to Vivid, which is in Sydney. It's this light festival that's held every year. And they do art installations and like light installations. You can walk around the city and looking at it. So last night we were headed out to go to Vivid, and it was absolutely bucketing down rain. And the only night since 2016 that they turned the lights off. So my poor mother-in-law had traveled all the way down from Foster to come and see Vivid with us. And the lights were turned off for the first time in, 8 years?
8 years.
Oh my God. So that was very exciting. But since we, very exciting. Since we were already out, my feet were absolutely drenched. So this is why my socks were completely wet. And I had the thought when I got home, maybe I should pop them in the microwave. Mm-hmm. And that hit my memory like an absolute train. So I avoided that. And however, I should say that the fire did only happen one time, and he did this many, many times. So no, I am not saying I condone putting things in the microwave to heat them up, and because that is a genuine safety concern. But it did kind of happen only the once. So I'm just saying. But we did. Well, I learned a lesson. And now hopefully you've learned a lesson too. And also your heart's broken out there. This is why my name is Lady Hart. I'm here to break hearts and take names. Also, where are we up to? Oh, so on that note, because it was raining so heavily yesterday, and it was meant to be this all weekend long weather rain experience. So I was setting up for today. We've got 4 people. Hello, how you all doing? When I was all setting up for today, I had it in my head that it was going to be raining. And back here, it's got the corrugated sort of roof. So like the rain is quite heavy once it starts coming on. And I thought, oh, this is going to be fantastic because we're going to have, the rain noise, and then I can start telling some ghost stories. But of course, it's a unseasonably beautifully warm, sunny day. So on that note, I'm going to tell you instead the biggest blue balls ghost story I ever heard in my life. And this one will stay with you as well because the setup, no, I'm just going to tell the story. The setup is, okay. So I used to be shipped off to these stupid holiday camps. Not warm. I actually, in the live chat, you're asking me if it's warm. This is how far we've gotten. And also, look at this neat trick. I can't decide whether it's Halloween or Easter. And I think the correct answer is yes. So I used to get shipped off to these stupid school holiday camps and things like that. And this was in an effort to socialize me. I know, because I've never ever had any other trouble at all interacting with other people, socializing with other kids when I was young. So I'm about 10 or 11 at this point. Never had any problem with that. I just wasn't interested. I just wanted to read all these, I didn't find many other kids that were like me at the time. So, we've got nothing in common. I don't want to socialize with people who are at a camp to do sport. Just let me go and read in my room alone. Anyway, that's what I did. I faked being sick for most of it and went and read and laid in bed. So, but there was one particular camp that I was sent to, and they started telling these ghost stories. And now, as an adult, I figured out later that they would tell these ghost stories because they had rival camps. So, so say there was a holiday camp in Narrabeen, which is, I don't even know where that bloody is. I went to it though, and I hated it. And so one's in Narrabeen and say another one's in I don't know, Wollongong or Berry or something. They've got it in for each other because they're little competitive camp things going on. So that was the reason I figured out later in my life that they started telling these ghost stories about, the other camps. Unfortunately, it had the exact opposite effect on me, and I demanded immediately once I found out that there might be a ghost presence at another camp. I'm like, if you're going to send me to these stupid camps, at least put me in a haunted one. Okay, so this story, though, it is the setup for the best ghost story that not the best, but a really, really good one. And then it just leaves you absolutely. So here we go. So the story goes is that there were two camp counselors, and it was dinner time at the camp. So they're rounding up all the rest of the kids who are outside, getting everyone into the mess hall or where everyone ate food together. And it was already dark. So most of everyone's already in the mess hall. These last two camp counselors are out just scanning the property. And then they see a kid, just one lone kid standing off across the field. And they're like, oh, this child mustn't have heard us. We'll just walk closer and tell them to, it's time to go in for dinner. And so they're walking towards this child and they're like, hey, it's, it's time to go in for dinner and things like that. And the child wasn't responding. So they're like, okay, we'll just go a little closer and we'll check out what's going on. So they go closer and to the point where, it's definitely now that this child can hear them talking to them. And they're like, hey, you didn't hear us, let's go. And so this kid turns around and says to the camp counselors, "Hi." And they've just, said a lot of things, so they're not expecting that as a reply. And they're like, "Hi, are you ready to come back in for dinner?" "Hi." So camp counselors are getting really weirded out. This kid said hi twice, nothing else. And they're like, all right, maybe this is a little prank or something. And it's like, all right, come on, stop messing around. But it's feeling a bit weird, right? And then here's the bit of the story. Like, how good is this set up? If I leave it here, how good is that set up? But no, they decided to continue on with this and give it an ending that is nowhere near what it bloody should be. So, camp counselors staring at this kid who has said only hi twice in this quite a high-pitched voice. And then the child starts repeating, "Hi, hi, hi, hi," over and over and over again, and then zips off into the sky. That is the end of the ghost story. That is what they left me on. When I was 11 years old, they left me on that at the end of a ghost story. It could have gone anywhere. They flew off into the sky. And when they told the story, this particular detail stayed with me as well, because I don't know why. They said specifically, he zipped off into the sky. Zipped off, like just, whoo! I'm going to need more detail on that, because I'm imagining it's just a child who is sitting there, and then what? They become half sort of smoky and just, woo! Off into the sky, just fly off. Are you, is this a rocket pack situation? What is going on? So I guess though, wait a second. You know how all good ghost stories don't have an ending. Maybe that's what they were trying to get at. I just think that could have been ended so much better. And I feel like since it has stayed with me for this long, was it a promotion of this? See, this is why I figured out later that they were doing marketing wars. They're like, oh, don't send, the kids will go home and tell their parents, oh, the other camp's haunted, I'm not going there. So yes, absolutely. I think they were definitely doing a promotion of their own zip line. So that is the most blue balls ghost story I have ever heard in my entire life, with such a great setup. And I feel like it needs to absolutely be finished correctly. That story, it just owes to it, I can hear the kettle down.
Oh, sorry about that.
All right, I am going to finish up, because I said I'd go for an hour. I didn't say that this time. I had it in my head, but I'll go for an hour. I will finish up on one more. Bye, Chris. Have a great rest of your show day. And if there's any other lurkers in the chat, hello, make yourself known. I will finish on a couple of, because they're quite quick, my little ghost stories. Now, pretend it's raining and it's all spooky dooky while we finish up on this. So as I was saying before, that same partner I had when I was younger, I actually managed to get all of these glossed in the live stream. So success on that one. So we were living in this house that was particularly haunted. It was built in, this was down in Tassie, so it's really old. The house was 200 years old or whatever. And now I don't often like see ghosts, I tend to feel them more than I see them, which, look, that works for me. That works for me quite well. So when in this place we were living at, which was this rundown mansion in Tasmania, it was very, very confronting to have one instance where I did actually see something, but a lot more feelings. So I'll tell you the one that I saw first. So this was in the day as well. These spirits or whatever was in this particular house we were living in, they were not confined to nighttime hauntings, just anytime they wanted. So I was sitting at the bottom of the staircase, and how the layout of the house went, there was a staircase and then long corridor with the front door at the end. So if you're sitting on the staircase, you've got, frontline view to the front door. So I think I was on the phone. That doesn't sound right because I hate being on the phone, but maybe I was. And I was sitting at the bottom on the steps, so we'll just pretend I was on the phone. And I'm looking at the front door, and you're just idly staring, while you're having a conversation. And I see the front door is one of those ones with the glass panel. And I see this shadow of a human figure. I want to say it was a man. It was sort of larger kind of stature. The shadow walk in to like the glass pane on the other side. And so my first thought is there's someone at the door. It must be a delivery or something like that. So go to open the front door, and the shadow is still definitely there as I get to the front door. I open the door, and there is no one there. We lived on this sort of second story. So the entrance as well to our house was, you had to go up a flight of stairs. It was like, terraces, but mansions. Yeah, it was sort of like that, like a bigger terrace. So we were up on that second entryway. So I opened the door, and there is no one there. So there is at 0 point, like there wouldn't have been a way to run all the way back across the front veranda and down the steps all the way to the street when the shadow was still there as I was opening the door, and then there was nothing there. So that was sort of the only instance I'd ever seen of seeing like something kind of around. So that was particularly spooky dooky. There were other instances in that house. We had this flatmate who came over, and I was still awake at night, and he lived downstairs, we lived up. He came up and he said, is your boyfriend awake? And I'm like, no, he's asleep. What's wrong? And he's like, oh, don't worry about it. And then went back to his room, and like he was very, kind of acting in a way that wasn't usual. And then about 5 minutes later, he comes back up and he goes, can you go wake up your boyfriend, please? Like, I'm like, okay, I'm just not going to ask any questions, but clearly something is going on. So I wake up my partner, and they go downstairs to help with whatever's going on. They didn't tell me about what happened until the next morning. And it was our flatmate had been lying in bed, and this still gives me the shivers. Been lying in bed in the dark trying to sleep, and their door creaks open. And they're like, oh, probably just the window or something. It creaks open a little bit more. And the way he described this, it was like the door was opening, but it wasn't real life sort of like in that crack of that door. It was sort of like you would expect to see, you know, open the door, see some hallway and things like that. He was like, it was not like that. It was a different like portal, or I don't know, something like that. And then he said, and then hands started to reach out and around the crack of the door, and not just one, multiple. And he said, these hands, oh, I am getting goosebumps. Okay. Goosebumps. So these hands, and he said, they weren't like just human hands. They were elongated with claws, like long. And he's like, there were three of them. So I like referring to three different, so I guess there were 6 hands or something that was coming through. So that, I'm actually quite glad they didn't tell me the rest of that until the next morning. That wasn't the first time he'd sort of had things like that. But anyway, my boyfriend went down and flatmate explained what had gone on. And so that was, you know, quite concerning for both of those. Though that I'll end up on. Same particular haunted house. Man, we got our money's worth out of that house. This was back when we were living in, like, it was ridiculous. There was like 7 rooms and we paid $90 a week between 3 people. So $30 a week. And we ended up getting evicted because we thought it was too low to pay. Well, I always paid, but anyway, end up getting evicted. We had the room that was sort of like an attic kind of room. So one morning, I am sitting down on the floor and I was doing my makeup in sort of one of those makeup mirror things that on a stand. So it's not a full mirror. I can't see anything behind me. I'm sort of just focusing on doing my makeup. So I'm sitting on the floor doing my makeup and it's about, 11 in the morning. So it's all fine and things like that. And I start to feel these little sort of like little butterfly kind of kisses, like across my neck and my shoulders. And like, I thought, oh, boyfriend's just come up and I didn't even hear him enter, and he's just giving me an affection, and one affection please. And so you do the and you go to turn around. There is no one behind me. There is no one behind me. Boyfriend was not even home. So, and it was so human. It felt very physical. It didn't feel like I could have been imagining it or anything like that. It felt definitely real. And I turn around and there is nothing there. After that incident, we actually moved to a different room, and a lot of the activities started to stop after that. So yes, very, very spooky dooky things happened down in old Tasmania. And I'm not surprised, because it is the state of our country that has so much history and a lot of very heavy things that went on, like the penal colonies and Port Arthur, both versions of the horrible things that went on there. So I'm not surprised that it is such a state with such a huge presence of past souls and spirits and things like that. So yeah, I reckon, and you don't get a lot of, I have not seen a lot of sort of ghost hunting shows that like leaning down towards Tasmania. I probably haven't done a good enough look, but if it hasn't been done, look, I'm willing to go back down there and interview a ghost. That's the dream. That's the bucket item list. And interview a ghost. I wonder what vox pops I can absolutely get from them. So that brings us to the another end of my live stream, and my words are starting to, I feel like they're not making as much sense now. So I am going to end off the live stream here. Thank you so much to everyone thank you, my love. Thank you so much to everyone that joined me again this morning. I did have the chat going. It was much easier having it over there, and I can see what you guys are all saying. I do have an idea for a video that I want to do this week. I'm just not sure with the inspection and everything like that. It's a 1 hour process, and it just takes out so much of your life. It is very, very frustrating. So there is a video that I did want to get around to making this week, but if due to time constraints and things like that, or the person that I want to hit up about it isn't available, I will be doing another live stream next Sunday. So we've got plans A, B, and C, as is always what I like to be prepared with. So thank you for joining me on another wonderful live stream. I've had a lot of fun again. I hope you enjoyed my stories and my opinions on things, and I will catch you all very soon. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.